But yeah, so I will pass it on for a special guest. So I met him earlier this year. He reached out to me on Facebook about SolarCon, and he was able to slide us a couple of tickets for some of our mentors to go out there. So I definitely appreciate him on that. Had some great interactions with him in Utah at SolarCon as well. He absolutely crushes it. He's doing a lot for the solar community, and that's the main thing that I learned from SolarCon. Was I mean the trainings were great, but a lot of the great things were the connections that we made at SolarCon. But also it really is that there's people that have ego and they're pricks, right? But there are legitimately people that just want to see the solar community just thrive and grow. This is a great opportunity for everyone, and if we all kill it, then we all kill it, right? We could help get these finance companies dialed in and these panel manufacturers dialed in if we all just kind of come together and build a community. So Solar Joe, please take it away, brother.
Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate you. That's awesome to hear all the stuff you guys got going on. And even though these updates sound bad, but it's great to know what's going on, right? Like it's frustrating when you're working a deal and you didn't realize this rate went up or this problem. Like if you know exactly what you're going into, oh my God, it just everything goes so much smoother. So Anthony, great job, and thank you for having me here. And yes, I love helping the community industry, the whole solar industry. And when Anthony asked me to do this training, I was thinking, how can I help? And what I noticed is we are expected as solar pros to be design experts, right? We're expected to know electrical and know how deals are supposed to be put through and how it's supposed to look on the roof. But I haven't seen too many trainings out there, right? There's no trainings about how to design and how to actually apply electrical and what to look out for. So I decided, hey, let me do a little, basically it's not a full advanced, but basic solar panel design, electrical tips. And it might not be too advanced. So this all of us chip in. If you have any questions, you have any input, throw it in. And this is just me over my years, my experience, and what I've seen, where it's maybe simple and basic, but just understanding and seeing it can remind us what's important, how to design, what are the basics, what to look for, and maybe some objections to overcome and how to deal with those stuff. Okay. Let's jump in. So anybody has any questions, they want to have any input, please just unmute and blast it away. It's an open forum. So first thing with my beautiful solar panel house here is editing a design for efficiency. Yes, we get back designs and we have to figure out what it's going to be. But what's the first thing we need to do before we even set up a design? But that's the first thing. And this is like the most important thing. And we kind of like glide over it because it's become a marketing tool to get appointments. It's figuring out what offset is appropriate for the homeowner, right? And I'm not saying you guys are doing this, but what I've seen is that just like the interest rate, everybody goes to the 25-year, 1.9, 2.9, 3.9, like right off the bat, right? Same thing with offset. Everybody goes to 100% offset every single time. Not everybody, a lot of people. And that's not always the right answer, right? We have to really figure out how much electricity they're using, first of all. I've seen so many times that solar pros takes one bill, they take a graph, and they just assume this is the number, right? That's what a lot of people do. But then even worse than that, they read a graph wrong. They'll take a graph and it'll say like total kilowatt hours for the month. And they'll take that 1 month and think it's for the whole year and actually have a total amount of electricity wrong, right? So really, really important is take the extra step, get the other bills, figure out how much electricity they're actually using, right? That is such a basic requirement that a lot of solar pros skip, just try and get their appointment and they forget, oh, we actually didn't get that exact number, we rounded it about, right? So just first off, let's get the exact information. And then once we have accurate information, ask more questions before we can know what kind of design they need and how many panels they need. We still need to ask questions, right? First of all, a really important question I like to always preach, how long are you staying? Because that could change what size system they need. If they're moving in 2-3 years, who are you selling the solar system to? Are you selling it to that homeowner or are you selling it to the next homeowner, right? And how do you know how much electricity the next homeowner is using? You really don't know, right? So really try and figure out how long the homeowner is staying can really help you figure out what size systems they're going to need. But on top of that, I think a lot of people can agree here. When you guys asking homeowners, are you planning on getting an electric vehicle in the future? Half of the homeowners are saying yes. For me, I don't know if you guys are seeing the same thing, but if you don't ask that question, are they going to tell you they're going to get an electric vehicle? They may not. right? So it's important, ask them questions like, I see this trend of electric vehicles. Are you guys, is that in your future? Sometimes they say begrudgingly, right? They'll be like, yeah, this is what's making me do it. Like they'll say the truth because they want to make sure they give you the right information. But if you don't ask it, they won't tell you. Another one is talking about degradation. I've noticed a lot of pros are scared to talk about degradation. Panels are going to get weaker and weaker over time. I'm not scared because that's part of what you're selling. That's part of the panel. That's part of what it is, right? But it's more important to let them know that these panels will be getting weaker and weaker. You'll have less in the future. So set them right in the future, in the beginning. So that means you need extra panels. You need to go 115% to make sure that they have that 80 to 85% after 25 years covered, right? So little things like that. Another thing I like to make sure is talk about AC usage. It's such a normal thing. Like some homeowners are going solar just to be more comfortable in their home, to be able to use more AC in the summertime. And that could be a selling point when you're closing them, right? Like, and helping them. Like, I know you can be more comfortable when the AC is going. It gets them excited about the solar system. Because sometimes they're like, I'm getting these solar panels, but what am I getting? But you're talking about the comfort they're getting, the extra stuff that and then you can add that in your design. So then when you're talking about the design, the reason why we added more panels in your system is to make sure you're comfortable in the summer, to give you more AC usage, right? So asking these kind of questions are very, very important. Now, I'm going to move along pretty quick, so stop me if it's something that you want to kind of keep talking about, okay? Now, everybody does the same thing. We get the design and Solo sends back a design back to us, right? Now, I've noticed the difference of Solar Pros. Some take it, are like, okay, that's like a homeowner, this is what the design looks like, this is what they told me. But sometimes that designer is some high school kid that you never know. You don't even know who it is. They don't know what they're doing, maybe, right? So you can't assume it's exactly correct. Okay, this is so important. And even if it's maxed out, I've seen like so many times that they say maxed out, but they could fit like 3 or 4 panels on the south. They could fit a little, maybe 2 more on the west. And it's simply asking for a request to change it. Just, hey, and be nice about it, obviously, right? Like, hey guys, this is an awesome design, but I just wanted to know, I noticed there was some more area left on the west side and the south side. Can we max out the left side, the west side and the south side? And not one time have they ever came back to me and be like, hey, Solar Joe, you're an idiot. I can't believe you asked for that. Like, super nice every single time. And they do it and they come back. And I don't think one time they've actually, like, they didn't try to really do their best, get their manager, get somebody to do it, figure it out. They'll get it done, but you have to ask for that edit. I know it seems so simple, but a lot of people don't do it because they don't think about it, or they're scared, or they don't think it's a normal thing to do, but it's very, very normal. Okay, guys? Now, panel placement is also very normal, and it's basic to a lot of us. So some of you guys, Dana, Anthony, this might be some basic stuff here, but it's just important to talk about because it's not talked about enough. Where is the best panel placement on a roof? Everybody knows, everybody's gonna say it with me in their head, go for south, right? Like, just get the south filled up. But not everybody has a south roof. Sometimes there's issues, shade, this and that. So, but obviously everybody knows south, go south first. Now, this is opinion. So, maybe some people have other opinions. My opinion, the next best is the west. Now, for California, it's more obvious because there's a lot of, and other areas that have time of use, peak hours, off-peak hours. You want to get the west because that's going to cover the most expensive hours, right? But let's talk about areas that don't even have it. Now, if California is anything, they're the ones who start trends, right? So if it's happening in California, what's going to happen in the other states? Probably going to happen also, right? So if you're competing with another solar pro that's saying, oh, no, east is fine, even though you get the same exact sunlight in the west, you may be able to win that, saying that, yes, right now there's no time of use, but what happens in the future? Now you're already covered, even though it's the same exact amount of hours. There's little extra pluses, benefits to think about, little nuggets to think about. But to me, I'm always trying to do the west Plus, I'm from California, so that's got soaked in my brain. Second is west. And then third, of course, is the east. East is not least. It's great. Get them on the east side of the house. It's going to be a lot of hours, a lot of sunlight. And, just the only difference is the peak and off peak is not going to be as good on the west side. But the north is not out. Years ago, when I first started solar, it was like a sin to put panels on the north side. It was like, north side, what are you doing? You trying to rape these homeowners? No, actually, today, it's actually a good thing in a lot of areas because of the cost of solar and because of how much electricity it costs, right? So the best way to understand it is you're losing about 30% from the south to the north. It's not everything. It's not the end of the world, right? So it takes maybe one extra panel out of 4 panels to give them the extra electricity they need. That cost can make sense, right? So don't think the north is not possible, but it's definitely fourth. South, west, east, and then north if you have to. Everybody should know this. Everybody understand that? Basics, everybody's good, right? All right. Now, setback requirements. You guys know about setback requirements? Thumbs up, setback requirements. Know about it? Now, most areas you're looking at about 3 feet, right? You're looking at 3 feet on the ridge. Make sure that the firemen can jump on the roof if they need to. But there's some areas where it's a little different. Like San Diego is a perfect example. And too many times I've seen San Diego and they come back with a 3-foot design and they could have fit more panels by going to 1.5 feet. As long as you have 3 feet total, including the other side, 1.5 feet and 1.5 feet, you can go up to 1.5 feet on San Diego. So it's like, depending on the area, it could change in the jurisdiction. So just make sure that just because they send back to you whatever setback requirement doesn't mean it's correct. Get some knowledge about the jurisdictions you're in and find out exactly what it is, okay? That can help get more panels on the south or west sides. Now, obstructions. Guys, if you see an obstruction that's the designer didn't see, don't just like, oh, it's okay, we'll figure that out later. Or like, no, get it done. Like, hey, thank you for design. I noticed there was a actual event that you have a panel over, or when you do your design, make sure you don't have that panel on that vent. Make sure to do that because it's going to change up everything. You may have to move panels from the south to the east, or worse, the north. That's going to change up everything for the homeowner. Now you're re-signing a homeowner and you're reselling a homeowner again just because you didn't set up the design accurately in the beginning. So pay attention to obstructions and also the shade of those obstructions. A chimney can have a big major effect on solar panels, even though it doesn't seem like it. And that, especially if the way the sunlight's going on those panels. So if you're able to make sure you look at those obstructions and those shade, count that. But speaking of shade, this is one of the biggest things, the biggest problems I've seen come back with designs. You see a huge tree over the house, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. And the design comes back, oh, it's 3%. No, that's impossible, right? Like so many times, Solar Bro's like, yes, it's a great deal for the homeowner. This is gonna be awesome. But that's actually not gonna happen when they actually get that design and come back, the system come back wrong, right? So it's important to let them know, even though it hurts, like, oh, this is gonna change things up. Let them know. Actually, there's a huge tree here. They're not planning on cutting it. That's going to affect shade. Or when you're making your design, just because they max it out doesn't mean they want you to put it there. Right? They're just giving you a blank canvas and you have to put it in the right spots. Consider shade, even if you have to go to the house and understand how high the tree goes. Look at other things around it. If the tree is double the house, then maybe it's 40 feet or 20 feet or whatever the size of the house is, right? Like know what you're looking at, how that's going to affect the shade of the house. It's really, really important. Another one is when it's like a 1-story and you have a 2-story. That can cause a major shade on that too. So include that in your equation. Don't think the designer is going to look at every detail when they're doing your design, okay? I'm going to move along quick. Stop me if you have any questions. Roof types is another one. like there's just, sometimes you assume like, oh, no big deal, and like cement tile versus the Spanish clay tile, be completely different costs, are completely different costs. right? So if you know their design is Spanish clay tile and you're saying it's cement, when they get to that house, they're going to say it's Spanish clay tile, and the price is going to go up, right? So make sure you have this right information in the beginning so there's no surprises, or at least let the homeowner know, hey, this could go up because of the Spanish clay tile. They may have to do this, this, and this. Understanding the difference of roof types could affect the design big time. Another one is flat roofs. Now, I've seen it so many times that when you get a flat roof design back, they put it all together. Have you seen that? Like it's a regular roof, angled roof, and they put it all together on the flat design. That's completely wrong, and it happens over. I see, like almost, I would say 50% of the times they're putting it all together, right? So it's our job as a solar pro to be like, thank you guys for this beautiful design. This only is showing the flat part of the roof that we have to separate them and tilt them towards the sun. So it has to have space. And then they do it, right? They'll do it right away, and they'll probably feel stupid they didn't do it. But if you don't, and you go to the homeowner with the design, the next solar pro coming in and you show them the design, they're gonna make fun of you. They'll be like, oh, this is what they told you was gonna happen? Well, let me teach you something, Mr. Homeowner. And then the homeowner is gonna think you're not a professional, right? So understanding how a flat roof design looks is critical to be a solar professional, okay? And the last thing on this page is HOA regulations. There's different areas have different HOA regulations. Understand that area, what their rules are. They may not be able to say no, like maybe somewhere like South Carolina, but like they may not be able to say no, but they'll have be able to restrictions they can do. So don't look like an idiot and be like, oh no, HOAs can't do this and can't do that, and then they find out that they're right. You know, just make sure you know what those designs are, those effects of HOA are going to be. Okay. Anybody have any questions on this whole screen at all? All basic good stuff here. Thumbs up.
Yeah, real quick in regards to you know, kind of just doing some stuff prior to pitching the deal or looking at the design or whatever. I think we're the first slide. Research the utility as well and what they will allow for offsets. Because
Yes.
I want to say this past week we had 2 or 3, you know, utilities kicked. SMUD was one of them. We try to squeeze out 112%. They're like, no, they didn't let it pass. So we had to remove a panel, right? But research your utilities and know and understand their offsets and their limits. And sometimes it's a simple Google. Their net metering rules as well. Like Joe said, sometimes 100% isn't really 100% with a certain utility if they don't have net metering rules or you know, 1-to-1 or anything like that. So just research that and just make sure, once again, we got to be professionals, right? And it's a simple Google. I know Powur has knowledge base, and there's a lot of information on utilities and stuff in there as well. Definitely do the research for your territories and for your area.
Yeah, here's a cool link you guys can use too. It gives you the ability to get the last 12 months of electricity usage, PDFs, their bills, their months, and give you a lot more information for that homeowner. There's a free like trial in that too if you want to check it out. So that'll help you guys out. Any other questions on this one?
Hey Joe, does that link work for all utilities?
Yeah, pretty much. I've never seen one not work with it. Yeah, it's awesome.
I'd like to share something about north roofs.
Yeah, talk. Speak.
The best energy transfer happens on any surface in the world when the sun is perpendicular to the surface that it's striking. Now that hardly ever happens because we have, let me take right here in Concord, okay? On June 21st, the sun is 78 degrees up in the sky. That's as high as it goes. On December 21st, it's 29 degrees. So it's always going between 29 and 78. So if you have on December 21st, if the sun's at 29 degrees, just for that one day, and you have a pitch that's over 712, which is a 30.26 degree roof, you get 0 solar energy on that day. It's skimming right over the top. It's not perpendicular, it's 0. It skims right past it. So there's a lot of stuff you can learn about solar, and I really encourage everybody to learn a little bit about the basics. You have to know what latitude you're at in order to know what the skim angles are, how the azimuth is affected, and everything else. And everybody's starting with 429.1 BTUs per square foot. That's the surface of the earth. It's the solar constant. It doesn't change. That stuff can make a customer think, this guy knows a little bit more than the next guy. Maybe I should listen to some of the other stuff.
100%. And that's why this is the basics. So for the advanced, hit them up, everybody. Hit 'em.
Thank you.
Doug, you're doing the next training, bud.
Yes,
I'd
sir.
love to do one sometime.
I concur.
So the next one I want to hit on is objections, really, but I call it homeowner requests, because you could have the most efficient system, what's going to give them the most money. They're going to be sitting pretty, and then guess what happens? They're like, I was thinking, put them over here. I was wanting this. They're like, no, you don't realize it's like amazing for you. So let's talk about some of those objections or requests they have and how to answer them. Okay. So the first one I have here is everybody's gotten this, right? Everybody's seen this. I don't want them on the front of the house. Like, oh, okay, yes, sure, Mr. Homeowner. You don't realize how much money you're throwing away, right? But there's a way to handle this objection. And I call it objection because at the end of the day, what are the homeowners going solar for? If it's not to, save money and to be more efficient with their energy, and they're choosing to put it they're not going to put it in the front of the house because of the way it looks, and they're not understanding what the real value of solar is, right? So it's really important to explain to them, yeah, if that's what you guys want, that's perfectly fine. We can definitely do that. I can make them feel like that's the choice they can do, right? Because they can actually put it anywhere they want. It's their house. You're not going to fight with them at the end of the day, right? But it's important for them to know what they're missing out on. Like it would be, and the next Solar Pro may do that, and then you'll lose that job because they went that extra effort of showing them what an actual efficient design could look like, and then show them a design that they're requesting, and then go over the numbers. Like, hey, this is the one you wanted to do. This is one I think it might make the most sense for you, and see what they say. So for me, it's really about making sure they understand those options, the repercussions, the costs, what they're actually losing out, because even though like we know this, like we understand solar, homeowners have no idea. Like they just hear things from homeowners, they Google something, and they just think they know what they want, right? And it's our job to let them have that option, but also show them what an actual efficient system would be. So just making sure you go over what efficient design looks like versus what they want, and present both and let them choose. And if at the end of the day, they choose the not efficient system, it's super important to tell the team, because they may say, oh, this is not an efficient system. Why? Well, they want on the north side of the house. Of course they don't want north side. Let's put it on the front side of the house, thinking they're helping the homeowner. And then what happens? Homeowners pissed off, get those panels off the front of my house, move them over there, because we didn't properly communicate with the team that the homeowner specifically doesn't want them on the front of the house, they want them on the north side. Just because you design it in a specific way, there may be some issues later. So really, really put that in writing. All right. Everybody agree with that? Put it in writing, make sure the team knows. So we'll go on. This is more basics. The next one I get a lot of times where sometimes it doesn't make sense for the homeowners to get a battery, but they're like, I want a battery. Or we did really good with marketing, and they're like, the reason why they're meeting up is because they want the battery. And then at the end of the day, it doesn't really make sense for them. This is one for me, is I kind of treat the battery sometimes as like a lead magnet, right? Like it might get us in the door and it'd be a good conversation piece, but it may not make sense for homeowners. And we have to be strong enough to know that may have got us in the door, but doesn't mean we have to sell it to them if it doesn't make sense for that homeowner, right? So for me, I like to ask more questions. Why? It's so simple, right? Just ask them why. Why do you want the battery? And they'll tell you things like, there was a storm 4 years ago, and I want to make sure that I'm safe for that storm. They may say things that are actually true, like, oh, I know about time of use, and they're going to give you save my electricity. Like, oh, wait, all right, someone knows what they're talking about. So just ask them a simple question, why, is going to give you a lot of information. Now, if they're telling you things that doesn't make sense, then you could use that as a reason why, what's going to make sense for them. So yes, we can do a battery for you, just like front of the house. Show them designs, show them what is actually going to happen, what it actually can do. Like, as we all know, a 10 kilowatt battery is not going to give them full backup of their house. right? It's not going to cover all their AC, their electric vehicle, they're all everything going on at the same time. But homeowners don't think about that stuff sometimes, right? They just think battery backup covers everything. So, and a solar pro sometimes doesn't want to say things that's going to scare the homeowner from closing a deal. But they also going to sign with you because they trust you, and they're not going to cancel because they trust you. And if another solar pro is going to come in, and this day and age, another solar pro is probably going to come in and talk to them, right? And if they're going to say things that's going to make you look bad, that homeowner is going to get scared and back out, right? So setting them up from the beginning, and if they do want a battery after talking to them, let's do it, right? But it will be wrong of us to not make sure they understand exactly what they're getting and then letting them choose. Time of use is one of the biggest reasons homeowners are getting batteries, right? So I would explain time of use, how that works. If they don't have it, let them know that's the reason why a lot of homeowners are getting it. Now, another objection or homeowner request I see a lot is, I love my roof, so I want a parking structure instead. Anybody got that one before? So it's totally normal, guys, to get this, and it's not their fault again. And this is kind of all in the same category. That's why I put them all in this kind of categories, where it's sometimes as solar pros, we feel like we're getting those homeowners. Like, every time I get those homeowners, those are the ones that without parking structures that cost $26,000. And the way I help these homeowners is let them go through their requests. A lot of times we try to stop them and say, bad idea, that's going to cost $26,000. You're wasting your time, energy. Do the same exact thing you did with the front of the roof. Same exact thing. So you show them the pricing, what it costs, do your research, do the extra effort, get the quote of what the actual pergola is going to cost, or the parking structure, or the ground mount, solar farm, or whatever it is. Find out. Don't be lazy. Don't be like, oh, it's way too much. You're not going to do it. Yes, they're not going to do it. They're probably not going to do it, right? But they have to see it. And they have to see that you tried and you cared and you actually went the extra effort to find out those details. If not, they feel like you're just pushing them one direction based on what you need, not what they need, right? So just do that extra effort, find out what those things cost, and then same thing, show them both and let them choose what makes the most sense. That's what helps me every single time. Like, don't feel like I'm the one pushing anything, because I'm always saying yes, but also let's look at this also as an option, right? Now, this is one of the biggest things I would ask the homeowner is go back to the basics. Why were you originally interested in having this meeting to go solar? Why? What was the reason you even got interested in solar? And a lot of the times they'll tell you, oh, because I want to save money on my electricity bill. I want it as an investment. Okay, perfect. So if they're wanting to save money and they want it for the most economical reason, right? So now you can go back to, well, I know you guys really want to do this for the economics of it. And yes, a pergola would be great, look good, but for the economics, like this option makes the most sense. And they can agree with you in most of the cases. Yeah, you're right. That does make a lot of sense. But now you have an actual option they can close on and feel good about, as opposed to not knowing what the actual other one is. People can make choices, but if they're confused, they won't make a choice. But if they know, all right, no, this for sure makes more sense, they'll go and sign that paperwork, okay? In my opinion, everything's not perfect, of course. I'm showing generalities here. Now, I think this is the last one on this one, homeowner request, and this is a popular one too. My main service panel is really old and needs replacement. Now, I know we're like, of course, give them the MPU, right? Just give it to them, who cares? A lot of times this could really complicate projects. Like, what if they didn't realize that MPU, if you did that, you need to relocate it, and you're gonna have to dig through concrete, and you're gonna have to move it there. It's gonna cost you another $10,000, $15,000. Do you still want to do the MSP, that MPU? And maybe not anymore, but you already promised the homeowner, you're gonna get, oh yeah, you're gonna get a brand new 200 amp MPU. You're gonna be loving it. It's gonna power up your whole house. Yes, if that happens, communicate with the project manager. Like, yes, this is what they want, but make sure you explain to the homeowner that it may not happen. If possible, is like I say almost every single conversation when I'm talking about MPUs. If possible, if this happens, but if you overpromise, you could really put yourself in a bad position. I'm talking about losing your whole commission just because you promise a homeowner an MPU without explaining that it may not make sense to the situation. So simply, the bottom line is don't overpromise. Make sure you understand that this communicating with the homeowners, what's efficient, what makes most sense for them, but then letting them choose by offering the right options. Sound good, guys? I'm going quick, so I know it's late. I want you guys to get back to your families and your home, but I want to do one more screen here, and this is going to be just basic electrical tips. So I'm not going to give you the whole barn and yarn or whatever you want to call it. This is going to be basic tips, but I want you guys to look further into it if you have any questions or want to understand it more. But I want you to start opening your mind about how to really look at electrical if you haven't really crossed this information yet, okay? But jump in, any questions, or anybody else have any knowledge, you want to jump in with it, okay? So part of designing is understanding electrical. Right? Like a lot of times you think designing is just placing the panels, but you have to understand the electrical part too to make sure that part is correct, or you're going to have an upset or unhappy homeowner, right? So first thing is how to know if the MPU is even needed. Like, how do we know what it is in what situation? You know, a lot of us, like when we see a 200 amp big ass breaker, have you like, yes, we're good, we don't have to worry about it. But sometimes actually still might be issues with that, right? So let's talk about that. Anybody know what the NEC is? Thumbs up if you know what the NEC is. We got Doug knows. NEC is the National Electric Code. That's going to help understand. Would you do a little research on it? And that's where we get our information of electrical codes and MPUs and the information there. So if you want to check it out, NEC, the National Electric Code. Now, some basics when we're looking at MPUs for me, you know, this is not going to give you all the answers, but first thing is discontinued main service panels. You guys know some of those in Cali, I'm sure. We got Zinsco, we got FedPack. Anybody else got any? Anybody? Anybody else?
Federal Pacific. Yeah.
Stab locks.
Yeah. All right, so those are basics. Know those, know the ones, and sometimes still, this is something I've made a mistake in the past, thinking that a Zinsco is an automatic MPU. It's not. Yes, you want to warn them, but sometimes, rarely though, but I've been in a situation where they actually kept the Zinsco there because it was way too much to do an MPU and it was a really small system. So there is chances that something could happen. So don't overpromise that either. But yes, most cases, discontinued panels will need to have an automatic MPU. Now, this is where I've learned a lot in the last couple of years is understanding backfeed, and that could change costs of a solar system. Anybody know what the formula is for BF equals BB times 1.2 minus MB? Anybody? What do the letters stand for?
You talking about the backfed breaker? Yeah, the 120% rule. Yeah. So basically, if it's a 200 amp, you can do a 40 amp breaker max. And if it's 100 amp, you can do a 20 amp breaker max.
Kind of, if it's depending on the bus bar and then the main breaker.
Bus
so
bar, yeah.
it's backfeed equals bus bar times 1.2 minus the main breaker. So for that example, 200 would be 240 minus 200. That's why it would be 40 left over. But if the numbers were higher, like if it's 220, then it would be times 1.2 would be like 264, I believe, then minus 200 will be 64, right? So it depends on that formula. So this is basics. I didn't know it was basics either until years later in my solar career, but this is basics for a solar pro to know. If you don't know this formula, write it down, learn it until you understand it. And when you explain it to homeowners, you're going to level up your understanding and then your reputation in front of that homeowner. Backfeed equals bus bar times 1.2 minus main breaker, and you'll get your backfeed. And then you can understand how many panels or inverters that a homeowner is going to be able to use. So I'm not going depth with it, but I want you guys to, if you didn't know, learn it and understand it so you could be a higher level solar pro, okay?
Joe, in situations like this, we can have a derated main breaker to fit our solar. So an MPU upgrade is unnecessary.
You're the man. Was that Doug? I don't know who it was, but he just gave me the perfect segue right into it.
Solar guy, Brian.
That wasn't me. Yeah, but I have a quick question. I just had a customer with a brand new remodel, 400 amp breaker, and they had to do a backfeed. That didn't make sense to me. And somebody said, well, it's because there's a 200 on each side and they only derated one side. D-rate, I mean, not a back, yeah, well, that's part of it. But anyway,
Yeah,
so
California's gonna be 200.
got a lot to learn still.
We all do, baby. We all do. So thanks, Solar Bri, for the segue. This goes into the NPU workarounds. A lot of times in the past, as soon as anything came up, NPU needed, then you automatically do. But there's certain workarounds, and Solar Bri just came up with the first one, D-rate. D-rate is actually very simple technically. Like, I'm not a technician, but to understand it is very simple. You're literally switching out a main breaker, say it's a 200, and you can bring it down to 175, so that 40 becomes 25 more now, so you're getting 65 backfeed instead of a 40. So it's actually a simple way to not have to do an NPU, just changing the main breaker and making it a smaller, so you have a bigger backfeed. You guys got that one? Okay. Next one is combining breakers. So sometimes there's no space in your MSP, and then automatically, oh, you have to get NPU because there's no more space. Actually, you can actually simply just combine, or called quadding breakers. You combine breakers, so you take two 20s, make it to a 40, now you have an open space for your solar system. So quadding breakers could be another solution. Another one is adding a sub panel. Question?
I was just gonna say that's max, and some jurisdictions don't allow it, so just be careful where you're at.
Thank you. Yes, I need the small print. Anthony, don't forget the small print anytime I talk. Appreciate it. And this sub panel is another unique, good creative way. It's pretty much just taking, it's like adding one of those power breaker switches. You're just taking all your switches, putting it on their sub panel, and now your breaker is gonna have more spots open for your solar system. So that's another unique way. I'm talking about inexpensive ways, so you don't have to do the whole NPU. Another one's a line side tap, skipping the breaker altogether, is going right to the supply side. Now we're going to go into, I'm almost finished up for you guys. Now we're going to talk about Cali a little bit, because that's most of my experience is Cali, and sometimes things come up, relocation. So when you need an NPU, it doesn't just mean like simply, oh, we're going to take out this NPU and put this one in, yay, everything's done. Like, no, it's not that simple sometimes. There's lots of things that can change that. So these are more Cali, but I want to kind of go over some. So when you do need a relocation, you need to get a meter spot. They have to come in and they have to actually make sure they have a spot that you can do it. And so it may need a relocation because of in a spot that's going to be further away than you need. So the meter spot is going to tell you where you can relocate it. If that relocation is going to be good, you can do that relocation. So places like behind lock gates, some utilities, they will make you relocate that MSP. If it's within 3 feet of the gas line, which is infamous, everybody in California should know this automatically. I've seen there's some mistakes I've seen solar pros out there make. They think that if you go diagonal, that counts. That's actually level from the panel to the main, the gas line itself. Has to be more than 3 feet away, or they'll make you relocate it. Under some sunrooms, utility closets, balconies, they'll make you move it sometimes, so watch out for those. I'm saying this stuff so that you can warn homeowners, so that you don't get stuck naked in the wind. I just made up a saying, sounds good.
Hey, Solar Joe, just on that, for PG&E, for the guys that are selling in PG&E, if there is a relocation needed because it's next to a gas line, the approval time is 6 to 9 months for that. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, so that's a big deal also.
Yeah, and so you might want to think about using a solar edge versus using an in-phase microinverters. That solar edge can help, sometimes to avoid an NPU as well.
It definitely can. It's going to be maybe like a 1 or 2 panel kind of thing, but it definitely could help for sure. Another one I've seen, more unique situation, but I've been through a lot of them, is the meter is on the outside, but the actual MSP is in the inside of the house, and they'll make you relocate that also. So make sure be aware of that for California. And then trenching. This is the biggest thing to watch out for, and like one of the most costly mistakes and reasons deals cancel is not understanding the extra cost of trenching. Because sometimes when we see our adder list, they're like, trencher cost 10 feet, 25 feet per foot, whatever it is. Like, yes, in a perfect world, if there's like perfect dirt and you get it right to that ground mount and there's no problems, but there's cement sometimes, there's retaining walls, there's there's just things in the way and costs to come up. So another time, don't overpromise the homeowner, like, this is what's gonna be, and I got the perfect pricing, because the next solar pro is gonna tell them, oh yeah, they're gonna come back and they're gonna tell you they can't do it, it's gonna cost more. And then when you do it, they're gonna be, oh yeah, the other solar pro is right, I don't want to work with you anymore. So just put yourselves in good positions, understanding the other costs of what projects are gonna be, and not assume that just because they say 25 per feet per trenching, that's gonna be the total cost. It could be a lot of added costs, or maybe a better spot is not to do the MPU and try to do one of these workarounds we talked about. So that's it, guys. I mean, I don't want to go over too much, a lot of basic information. I want it to be like a group forum. We can all talk and share information. So I appreciate you guys chipping in. Anybody have any questions, anything else you wanted to bring up?
I have a question for you, Solar Joe. What is your experience in selling in areas that have a lot of snow? And if you do have experience with that, what's your talk track, and how are you selling in those areas?
Well, I'm from California, Dana. Didn't I just say that before?
Well, my customer is here in California, but in the area that they're in, right now they have 2 feet of snow where they are. So
I don't, and I don't have a lot of, don't do a lot of experience with snow, but my biggest point is actually solar panels work better in the colder weather climates. So that's my biggest talking point would be, is that you'd be surprised that you would think like Arizona is the best place for solar panels, that actually Colorado is. And that's where I will start talking about, because of the coolest, not being so hot is actually going to bring the lifetime of the panels down. So cool, actually cold weather is good for solar panels.
And
Dana,
the James Webb Space Telescope has gold-plated solar panels at 180 below zero, and they kick ass.
Also,
is good.
also, Dana, being in Buffalo, New York, for my 12-year career,
There you go.
snow does affect the panels with several feet on them that stays there. They will still produce with a couple inches, not very well. You definitely notice the difference in production in like October over here. But snow slides off the panels relatively easy, so it's not like the big 2 to 1 foot will stay around very long. They mostly just slide off on the next sunny day, because the sun does still get through the snow to the darker panels, and it will slipping them up and fall off.
I'm just imagining those like snow plows falling off the roof, like you see it like falling down roof. Woof, woof.
Definitely take care of your customers if the panels are on like their driveway side. Put some snow guards or something up.
There you
Yeah.
go.
I agree about the snow guards. I'm in Massachusetts and snow's a thing here. One good way to sort of break the ice on that, though, if people bring it up, someone will be like, what about snow? And I'll be like, oh man, Powur did about 11,000 installs, whatever the number is last year. And we didn't think about snow. Like, you got us, like, you're the first one ever in America. They just sort of joke with me like, no, of course. Like, what Brian said is good. I always try to put a joke around it, because it's like, yeah, I don't, this is a good question. I know Aurora and most other places will calculate for precipitation and snow based on the region.
All of them do.
I
They all
think
do.
Solo does too. So I think that's a big concern, where it's like, what about the snow? It's like, well, the proposal software is calculating for the average amount of snow in your region. But what Brian said is correct. If you get 6 inches of snow that night, go out to your house and look at your house and your neighbor's house. Their house will have 6 inches. By 10 o'clock, when the sun hits out, the snow slides off, and all the other roofs without solar will have snow on it, but your solar panels will be clear. Now, if there's a valley where like 2 roofs come together, it will accumulate in that corner. And then I joke about with the customers. I say, we get a service call at least once a year from someone who looks at their app, and there's like a little error message on the Solar Edge or Enphase app saying panel whatever's down. And then the service person they're speaking to, can you go outside and take a picture of your panels? And there's like a chunk of snow on that panel because it's in the corner. And I joke with them. I said, I don't want that to be you. So make sure if you get that error, you go out and take a look at your roof. But it's funny because if you don't say that, they will be the person to call and complain that there's a panel broken. That, and it's usually like 3 days after the snowstorm. So all the other panels are clear except for one that's in a valley somewhere where the snow accumulates. Yeah.
Good.
Great feedback.
That's awesome, man. So anybody else, anybody any questions, any comments, any other information, feedback?
Bo is asking about if you could talk about where they could find you on Facebook, Instagram, your solar objections, and if you could talk to us about SolarCon as well, your upcoming
Yeah,
events.
appreciate that. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook. Solar Joe M is pretty much my handles on Instagram and YouTube, all that stuff. I try to put some content out there, have some fun, get some information, try to give content to the solar community. So check it out. But everybody here should, first thing, go to Solar Objections Facebook group. It's an awesome community. We're all engaging, helping each other figure out. Doesn't matter what company you work for. We're all a community helping each other out. So solarobjections.com, join it. It's free. It's awesome. I try to admit it where it's not like a bunch of spam everywhere. People asking about EPCs and talking shit. Like it's all everybody really trying to be a good camaraderie. So check Solar Objections out. Other one I would say check out is the Solar Academy. I'm part owner in the Solar Academy, and we're doing this really cool subscription. It's $97 a month, and you get a bunch of different trainers, different, little cool trainings. It's the lab. It's lab.thesolaracademy.com. Really cool. Check it out. I think you got some good trainings there. And then SolarCon, baby. I'm really pumped up about SolarCon coming up. It's going to be in April. I feel like coming up, but I know it's going to come around so fast. April, Earth Day weekend. Can't be a better weekend. Earth Day weekend, celebrate the solar industry. So April 20 to 22nd. Jonathan Budd is going to be speaking at SolarCon, baby. So come on, let's go. It's going to be off the hook. Everybody, Powur is going to be there too. So it's going to be an amazing time. We're doing super early bird specials right now. So you can get these VIP tickets and platinum tickets for like hundreds of dollars off. I'm going to put the link in the comments. Half off tickets right now. Jump in, get those. Let people know Jonathan Budd speaking. It's going to be massive. We're looking at maybe 3,000 to 5,000 people there. We're going to have some celebrity speakers. This is going to be the event of the year for the solar industry. So I'm really pumped.
Is it going to be in person too?
And so Salt Lake City, the Salt Palace Convention Center.
Oh, it's going to be in person. Okay, that's great. I know a lot of them is still virtual. That's awesome.
Yeah, a handful of us went last year. It was amazing. Like I said, just the connections, the camaraderie, everything. Everyone's just trying to help each other out. As long as you avoid, like I said, the
we're doing some crazy stuff. We're doing a whole like Cirque du Soleil show in the beginning. We're gonna have some celebrity speakers stay at the end. We're gonna have this vendor floor. It's gonna be amazing. We have 3 breakout rooms. We have some amazing sponsors. We're gonna have some after parties. It's gonna be I'm so excited and pumped up. So hope you guys.
It was my first face-to-face interaction with Solar Joe, Danny Pesci with Bo, Jonathan Brunasso with all of them was like.
And you're gonna have Taylor McCarthy next week, man. You got
yeah. We have Taylor McCarthy next week, guys. He's pretty much helped out Danny Pesci make Knockstar University. So
the guy is a beast, bro.
Yeah,
He's a beast. It's great to have him.
So I'll be next Tuesday night, guys.